Dear Dharma friends and our practitioners, today is Sunday, the 26th of October 2025. It's the weekend. We have a topic, and it's related to our retreat in October from last week. And this is the conclusions of the October retreat. As Trung Phong Zen Master said that the retreat, 90 days of retreat, is the 3 months of practicing, and that retreat is the whole life, and the whole life is in that retreat. When you start to practice, which means you enter the retreat, and in that retreat, you need to solve your problem before you stop or conclude the retreat. So the reminder from Trung Phong Zen Master, during the retreat, there's a lot of Dharma talk in order to remind everybody to go back to the practice, release the ignorance, the attachment. And if we don't have the reminder, the motivations from these retreats, we will just running after all of those desirements and the so-called birth and death that we don't realize. Therefore, in the 7 days of the retreat, we have the reminder constantly to practice. The 7 days of the retreat is just like a life, the whole life of practice. We need to practice and plow a seed in order to get the goal eventually. So no matter how many lives that we've been through, we need to do the practice until we see our own Buddha nature. It's just like a person who enter the vow to become the Bodhisattva. When they become the Bodhisattva, they need to go through a lot of challenges and practice. Just like a person first to become the Bodhisattva, they need to go through a lot of challenges, and they have to go through a lot of practice in order to walk toward their goal. They don't leave everything at all, but just practice, make a strong vow to practice in order to liberate ourselves from everything, all these thinking in the mind. As our Buddha has gone through a lot of challenges in order to see the ultimate goal, he had to trade in everything in order to learn the right Dharma from the 3 generations of the Buddha. And if we have a chance to see the right Dharma and meet the right Dharma, we need to make a vow in order to practice. We need to value our right Dharma instead of running away from our right Dharma. We need to trade in everything in order to practice. the Buddha said that we are living a life just like a person had a poison arrow, injured by the poison arrow. And we had the poison from the greed, the anger, and the illusions for many lives. And we forgot to get the arrow out. That's why we living in a life that poisoned for many lives. Just like one day the Buddha touched the ground, touched the earth, and asked everybody, asked his disciples, is the dust in my fingernails is more than the earth? And his disciples said that the one in the earth is more, much more than the one in your fingernails. So the Buddha concludes that whatever that I shared right now is just like the dust in the fingernails. What I knew is like the earth. So in order to reach that ultimate goal of the Buddha, we need to go through a lot of challenges. And for some practitioners, sometimes they couldn't go through the whole route, but they stopped somewhere in the middle just because of their habits, their ignorance. We need to get the poison arrow down, out of the injured wound in order to recover from it. And if we just leave it on our body, then we will be in trouble. So for a person, we need to practice continuously and diligently, be respect for our master, our Buddha. And the way to pay that respect is to practice and practice continuously, diligently. Just like we need to be thankful for everything that the Buddha had made to help us to practice. As a normal person, we have a we need to be thankful for our parents and everybody that helped us. So in the practice, we need to be thankful to our master, our Buddha. So that's a topic for this week. If you have any questions, want to share your own experience, go ahead and speak up. Go ahead. As you usually remind us to make a bodhisattva vows, just like you said that the Buddha make a vow that he be in hell until all sentient beings get out of hell. So you always remind us not to ask for anything, not to achieve anything. When I'm doing the practice, I always have something to ask for, something to achieve, but I realize that when I'm practicing, I always have a thought when I facing with the daily activities, and I remember your Dharma talk or in Ami Amida realms, and I realized that why don't we make a vow to go back to Amida's realms? And when I realized that, I realized that I have a thought. I just go back to my practice again, and I realized that I have not believed in my own Buddha nature 100%. And when I have a thought to ask for something, and I realized that, and just go back to my practice. And could you please help me on this? So the realms that you saw in this life is always there. Our minds always have the discriminations, and that's just like a habit in your mind. It's have been there for many lives. And when you realize that just the disease, then just go back to your practice. Use that just a reminder to go back to your practice. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be frustrated if you still have that, because the dualistic aspect of mind is still there. From superficial to deep, is still there. So for us, when we do in the practice, when we have all the dualism, but when we get enlightenment or we wake up from the dreams, all of those dualistic aspects of mind will be disappear. All of those dreams will be stopped. So that is known as the enlightenment. So just like an example from the Buddha and the patriarchs, we follow their examples. All the people sutra or explanations are just a means for us to go back to our practice. It's just like there was a masters, a patriots, when being asked who was a person who using nothing to give Dharma talk. So he couldn't answer that questions, and when he doing the practice, and he had that doubt about who used nothing to give the Dharma talk. And that doubt, when it's enough, then he will see his Buddha nature. So many others, practitioners, no matter when you ask a question raising doubt, when you have enough doubt, then just a sound of the wind or just a the talk from people in the market or the flower blossom, they can reach that ultimate goal, which is the enlightenment. So just like in Amida Sutra, the means here is the Amida realms, that all the activities or the sceneries will focus us to the practice and practice only. So depends on people levels. They will believe in different ways of practice. And that's why the Buddha had used many means for different people with different levels. So we need to do the practice in order to open our mind. And when our mind opens, then we can go from one level to another. So when the Buddha using the Dharma talk, he using the means in order to help our practitioner to practice. He using the poems, he using the stories, and he's using the cause and effects story in order to help people to believe in themselves, believe in their own Buddha nature, and start to practice. And all the examples in his sutra is also the means with the purpose to help the people to believe in their own Buddha nature. It's not for the people to get more knowledge or to understand more of this life, but you need to realize your own Buddha nature. So nowadays, sometimes people, they have different minds, different levels. The Buddha also have different ways, different means to help them to practice and lead them into the belief and the practice easier. For example, there was a man in the Buddha times. He always bow down to all the things that he met. He has a belief that his bowing will bowing down will lead to him to his goal, and he didn't know why he doing so. He attached to his bow and down as a way to liberate himself from this life. So the Buddha asked him, why you doing the bow and down? He said he didn't know. It's just because he inherited that from his ancestors. So the Buddha explained that when you bow down in the East, you think of your parents. When you bowing down to the West, you thinking of your master. You bowing down to the South, you paying respect to your countries. And when you bow down to the North, which you pay respect to your ancestors. And that is just the means that the Buddha used in order for him to understand the purpose of his bowing down to everything. So another example is that there's a woman who lost her first kid, and she crying a lot. and he heard that the Buddha had a way to help her son to come back to life. So he went to the Buddha and asked for help to resuscitate her son. So the Buddha said that, okay, if you want me to help your son to go back to life, you have to go to any families and ask for an ash, but with one condition, that families should have no one died in their families. So she believed the Buddha request and go to every single families in her village and ask for some ash. And when she asked for the ash, everybody really willing to give her the ash. But when she asked them if there is anyone in your family died, then all of them, all the families that she met, who said that there's someone have died in their families. So by that means, she realized the means that the Buddha had used to have her to realize that no one will go out of that circle of birth and death. And she came back to the Buddha and apologize and want to enter his practice in order to help herself. So based on the means that the Buddha had, when we believe in one, we need to believe in our own Buddha nature, believe in the Buddha words, and start to practice. And the more we practice, the more we believe in our own Buddha nature. And we don't base on what we ask for, what we achieve, but we do the practice in order to detach ourselves from all of those that we ask for, all of those we achieve. And that is the way that we walk toward our goal. Is that understandable? As you said, when we attach to the doubt is also the attachment. So I realized that recently when you said that some practitioners said that when they always keep asking the questions and raising doubts, and if you keep asking the question and raising doubt, that's a good thing. However, when you have that practicing, that is good already, but you need to detach yourself from what you asking for and what you achieve. Pháp Thiện, go ahead. So as you said, the Buddha, everything is just a means from the Buddha and the patriarch to encourage us to practice. But if we think about this, there's gonna be some contradictions in our belief. It's just like when the Buddha said that when you believe in me and you don't practice, which means you insult me. So there's still some contradictions in this statements from the Buddha. And when we doing the Patriot Zen, we need to do the practice, and only the practice can help us to get rid of these contradictions. And that is my experience in practice. I just want to share with everybody. Kim In, go ahead. I have 2 questions, but I will ask the first one. I heard from the Dharma talk of Duy Lực Zen Master. None asked Duy Lực Zen Master, when you stay in Vietnam, you taught us how to practice the Patriot Zen. My belief, our belief in our practice is just 100%. However, when you went to the USA, and our belief in our practice is not as 100% like when you were here. So I realized that we need to practice and practice correctly in order to believe in ourselves 100%. So could you give us some encouragement from the teaching of Duy Lực Zen Master? When they said that they believe in the Buddha nature or believe in the methods 100% when the master was there, but when the master went to the US, they have less belief, which means they not believe in the Buddha nature 100%. When you believe 100%, no matter if the master there or not, you still believe and practice 100%. So when you listen to people Dharma talk, it's not only to gain the knowledge, as our master said, or the Dharma talk, the right Dharma from the Buddha are just to mean to help us to go back to the practice. However, for that nuns or for those people who still have the discriminations that when the master is here or the master is not here, in order to have the belief 100%, and that is not right. When you rely to the master, no matter he's here or not, we're still using that Dharma to practice. And when you put your belief only when the master is there, and then that is not the way to have the belief. It's just like before, when people who start the practice of the Patriot Zen, they make a vow to practice the whole life, However, when the master passed away, they changed their way of practice to another method. So we need to practice we need to step up and to the next level during the practice. It's just like students, pupil in elementary. When you go to the next class, the next year, you go up the level and you have to leave that teacher from the lower level and meet a new teacher in higher levels. So with that in mind, when we start the practice with the teaching of our master, we need to gain our belief more and more when we practice. It's not like we relied only to the practice when our master was there, and when he's not there, we're not doing the practice anymore. So don't rely on these thinkings, don't rely on these words of explanation only. When you're doing the practice, everything is there already. When you still have attachments, the attachments will always have something missing. So for our practice, when we have the right Dharma, we to value our practice and just go back to the practice. We respect our master. We need to practice. We want to pay the respect to our three jewels Buddhism or our Buddha. We need to do the practice, and only practice can repay these. Is that understandable? Yes. We're running out of time.